Belinda Womack. And we just called her and got no answer. Let's try it again. Weird. Oh, here she is. Oops. She said sorry. Oh, let's try it again. Here we go. Belinda Womack.
Hello, Daniel.
Hi. Welcome to the Edge Television broadcast.
It's great to be here.
All right. Well, glad to have you on the show tonight, Belinda. You know, most of our guests, including yourself, are suggested to us. So evidently you have some fame out there. Somebody said, hey, get Belinda onto the program.
Daniel, we have a really wicked echo.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna drive me crazy.
Okay. Do you have our show in the background?
I do.
You probably have to turn that off. It must be hearing that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Try again.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Echo gone?
The echo is gone.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think the way that would work if you put that on another computer. I think sometimes if Skype and the program's playing on the same machine, it'll do that. Sometimes when you turn it down, it never really quite goes down. Maybe it catches some of it or not. But hey, I'll tell you what, though. Welcome to the program, Belinda. We're going to be talking about certainly your work on the 12 Archangels and divine intervention. But before we get going on that, why don't you sort of introduce yourself to our viewing audience here, who you are and how did you get started looking into angelic activity?
Well, thank you again so much for having me on your show. So this is Belinda Womack, and I am the author of Lessons from the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. And the way I got started working with angels was just it's actually a bit over 25 years ago now. I was working as a cell biologist in a pediatric oncology lab. And I actually have 2 master's degrees in science, actually from Indiana University.
Right on.
So I never, expected that I was going to do anything other than be a biologist. But I had a visitation from the Archangel Gabriel while I was doing a stem cell experiment. And I call it my out-of-laboratory experience. And so Gabriel appeared to me and said, Belinda, we have new work for you to do. We need your help to help humanity to remember that they are God's divine children and to remember that they have power and that they can change their lives. And I said, Gabriel, I don't have the qualifications for this. I'm a biologist. And what do you I need to do for this job? And so I was shown a book, and I'm at this point I'm in a stone room. I wasn't hallucinating. It was a very, very real experience. I was in it looked like a stone room with a dirt floor, and here's this incredible angel speaking to me telepathically. And so the book opened up, and it was an enormous book, and in that book was the word love in red fire letters. And I said, okay, I can believe in the power of love, and I can learn how to love. And that's how it all began. And that was a very long time ago. And so the angels, I started to meet the rest of the 12 archangels. They work together as a team, as a community, and they say that they help all of us, that our planet is a schoolroom, and we are here to actually learn how to work with this power that we're all made from, and that is just the power of love. And and that's what I have been doing for quite a number of years now. So that's how I got started.
Wow. So there you were, getting science degrees. And by the way, I appreciate you getting those from good old Indiana right here. So that'll connect you to the program really well. It's interesting. You said that about love. I want to look something up here, that I put on my own Facebook, for a second. Just bear with me, because what you said there came to, actually it wasn't on Facebook. It was on our YouTube channel. One of our guests, because all of our programming is put up on our videos are put up on our Facebook channel, and of course it allows people to make comments. And this one particular guest, one recent guest, was filled, it was, most of them were insults, or those that said it was great. And of course, there's always going to be that. I mean, two people can look at the exact same thing or watch the exact same program and come up with two complete, you're aware. I mean, that's just common sense there. But I said, at the end of that, I don't know what the exact verbiage was, but I said, people have their views of life that may be negative. And I said, I just have one view of life, and that is love. And that was just what I put there. And it was interesting. You said that you come to this book and open it up, and it just had love. When you said love there, I was sort of taking notes there. Did it spell out the word love, or how did you see that?
Yeah, the word love was spelled out, but it was, I mean, it was alive. It was in beautiful scarlet red letters. And, then once I saw that word, I was snapped back into the lab working on an experiment. I thought I'd been gone for hours. I looked at my watch. I wasn't even gone for a whole minute. So, it was a really amazing experience that I can still remember as if it was yesterday. But that's when my education started to work with angels in a very grounded way. I asked, well, this is later on, why did you pick a biologist? And it's like, we want human beings to ask for proof that we're real. We want them to ask for proof that love is the greatest power, that love is a force that we have the right to work with, to change our lives and to experience miracles and to experience greater happiness by the moment. And it works. Mm-hmm. And they say, don't take Belinda's word for it. Try it. And so it's great to hear that you are a fellow believer in the power of love, and that you've also seen that power work in your life. That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just while you were talking there, I did pull up my YouTube quote, and it because of some of the negative quotes, I said I'm not sure where the moral compass is for those that are making some of these comments, but my compass only points in one direction, ... love. So, that really, if that is not your ultimate goal in what you're doing, and it can be, whether you're caring for a plant or a fellow human or whatever, the interactions you have during the day in your normal, what most people consider mundane lives, but I don't think there is such a thing as a mundane life. It's just somebody who hasn't had their view enlarged exactly what's going on around them. And that's sort of sad, because people are kind of counting the days to get somewhere, but they need to count the day they're at. So that does seem to be a pillar of our existence here on this planet Earth, in this plane. Belinda, the questions come in to us through our Fast Blast, which is an email client. It also comes into our live chat where people are talking with each other and they send questions in that way. So here's one of the questions. This is from Peter in Australia. He says, Belinda, what did the angel Gabriel look like?
So the first time that Gabriel appeared to me, Gabriel was and I just want to make it clear, the angels appear to me in many different forms. Sometimes they will just be in radiant colors, like the colors of the rainbow, but beyond those colors. And so I just see them as energy. But at this first encounter, Gabriel was the most magnificent angel in flowing gold robes with scarlet embroidery and these amazing wings of gold and a trumpet and golden hair, and it stepped out of a painting. Gabriel was just incredibly beautiful, and totally clear eyes that just spoke right to my soul. And so that's the way that I saw Gabriel in the beginning. Okay.
And then we have this question here. It says, how can people dissolve guilt or resentment through raising our vibrations? How do we raise our vibration? And that is in your bio section that I put in there, that you do talk about that. So how do they dissolve that?
Well, we are amazing, powerful beings, and we think of ourselves as just our physical bodies that we can, pinch and stub our toe and feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have these amazing things called emotions, and we have thoughts. And our thoughts and emotions come together to their energy, and they create. And when we want to raise our vibration, we we need to shift that vibration of those negative limiting thoughts and those lower vibration emotions such as rage, guilt, hatred, resentment. And we can do that by working with the energy that's in our spiritual body. So some people call this energy working with the chakras. You can call them batteries of spiritual energy or energy centers. So in my book, with the 12 Archangels, they give a lot of very easy exercises to work with color. And when we work with color, what we're actually doing is we're using that creative, intuitive hemisphere of our brain. And that hemisphere is a very, very powerful part of our brain. And so by visualizing the color, especially purple or violet, we're activating the crown energy center or the crown chakra. And this is where the energy is. It's all from love, by the way. Every color that I talk about, that the angels talk about, is the power of love. But this color is the energy, it invokes the energy, it activates the energy of transformation and of forgiveness. So if we just are in a really foul mood and having negative thoughts, and we can imagine that we have a violet hat on our heads, like you've got that awesome white cowboy hat. So we just imagine that it's violet, it's a rich purple. And you're going to find, anyone that wants to try that, they're going to find that their mood shifts and that they start to feel better because they are working with their own spiritual energy, that power of love, to transform those negative thoughts back into the energy of love.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about vibrations, can you describe what a vibration is?
Well, sure. A vibration just is a word for energy. So if we think of sound, and if we can think of sound as something that is clear and beautiful and a perfect harmony, or sound that is distorted and when we hear it, it makes us just like fingernails on a chalkboard. Well, those are very different vibrations. And energy works in a similar way. And here on the earth, we have the vibration of love, and love is the vibration of heaven. So we can talk about heaven, where our loved ones go when they leave this earth, when they die. And that's where the angels that I work with, they reside at the vibration of heaven, meaning there is no fear there. But here on the earth, Daniel, this is a place where we get to experience the opposite in vibration to love. We get to experience fear. And there's a whole lot of different layers of vibration between love and fear. And so we get to experience that whole gamut of vibration. The bottom line is energy creates. That's what God used to create all of us and to create our planet. And sometimes I call God our creator. And we do that creation ourselves with our thoughts and our feelings. And that's really what the angels want to help us to take responsibility for, because they say, look, you don't understand how powerful you are. You are creating with those thoughts and those feelings. And if they're at a very, very low vibration, then you're going to create and attract and manifest in your everyday life experiences that feel like hell, that make you feel miserable. But if you create at the vibration of love, you're holding those thoughts in a place of gratitude, unconditional acceptance, and respect of yourself and of others, stepping out of judgment into that, again, that just peacefulness that we actually are capable of holding, then we are going to create heaven on earth. And we can prove this to ourselves but every single day by paying attention. What's the vibration of my thoughts? What's the vibration of my feelings? Where am I? Because again, we are always creating. God created us to create with God. So.
Wow. I mean, that's all really interesting things you're talking about there, Belinda. I know for those, let's just say that are watching the program or listening to us on TuneIn Radio, they may say, well, that's just new agey stuff. But let me point this out from some of the things you're saying that people, if they look at it from a different perspective, I know for a fact that there's certain music that I'll put on that immediately affects my mood, whether it's happy or sad. Same thing with video. You can watch a show, and everybody's done that. Where watch a movie and it causes you to, say to cry in specific situations. So there are, and you can also, say have some anger and you feel jittery and upset and different things. So there is, whether you call them vibrations or something else, that could be a matter of semantics, but there are external and internal forces and stimulus that affects us. So you're not like way out there in what you're saying. If somebody's mean all the time, then they're not a happy life. And I always wondered some of the things that I've heard over time people say is like, the hate towards somebody else or anger or just angst or whatever. I'm thinking, well, where's the love part? Because a lot of people say they understand love, but then they have no problem with, say, shooting some arrows into somebody else that maybe says something that they don't understand. But there are things that affect our internal well-being, and I think it's a proven science, because you said earlier that you were working on multiple science degrees, but isn't there science to prove that anger or hatred or some sort of thing like that can directly affect one's health?
Well, yes, I can't name those studies off the top of my head. That's not my specialty, but there are lots of studies out there that support that and support that with our emotional well-being, and meditation and prayer and positive thinking definitely creates a positive impact on our emotional well-being, and that very much has a positive impact on our immune system. And our immune system, of course, supports our health. So, everything is connected. Everything is very, very connected. And one of the things that the angels talk about is that we are motivated a great deal by our subconscious, and our subconscious, that's not what's playing out in our, in our minds. Those are our conscious thoughts. Our subconscious is connected to the past, and the past that often we don't want to remember and we don't want to deal with. And that's where our heartache and our anger and our rage and our pain and our suffering can get stuck and can be stored. But yet we are creating with that subconscious. And they say that's what's playing out on our planet. We human beings, we are watching those abandoned negative thoughts and feelings create chaos in our world. And what's going to change that is the power of love. And we can watch it change right before our eyes. And that's where I love that, that I was a scientist before I was drafted by angels. They say, look for results, ask for proof that changing your own vibration of your thoughts and your feelings and diving into the depths of your own subconscious, bringing some love where it has been missing for a long time. Watch it change your reality very, very quickly because we create from the inside out. There's a saying, as above, so below, but there's also as within, so without. And again, Daniel, it sounds like you have experienced this for yourself, but we can ask for results by working with the power of love and energy and shifting our thoughts, and we can see that life gets better if we want our lives to get better. Not everybody wants their life to get better.
Well, I would agree with that. It does seem that there is a a strain of people out there that seem to enjoy being negative, and maybe it's internalized to where there's almost like a safety comfort to them almost, and they don't really want that to be fixed. But I imagine people out there, our viewers, been watching me since 2004, automatically assume that being a cowboy like I am, that I'm perfect and stuff. But just here recently, and I was having some bad thoughts about some interactions I had, and I was thinking, now, why am I thinking that? I don't want to think that. And those thoughts kept coming up, and they were analyzing the situation from the worst angle. And I was thinking, well, looking at that situation from an angle is a choice. And I was thinking, I'm going to fight this thing. And so it could have been subconscious that was in there, that was projecting those, the way I was perceiving the situation, were projecting those and telling me in a defensive mode to, hey, that's a negative situation. You got to deal with it from a negative standpoint. You've got a battle on your hands. And I'm thinking, why do I need to think that? I don't want to think that. And so over time, can we train ourselves or untrain ourselves from the way we respond? Can we train ourselves to respond positively over time, like we evidently have done so negatively?
Well, to train ourselves is we're not, we can't, it's the angels, excuse me, I don't mean to stumble over my words, but every question that you ask me, the 12 archangels want to, they're the ones that are answering the question. And so they say, what we ask for you to do is have a different practice. What we ask for you to do is to have a different awareness. If you come from the place of, I'm exhausted from reacting, because to be negative and to be in a place of fear, it just is exhausting. It takes a whole lot more energy than to come from a place of acceptance and taking some deep breaths and coming from a different awareness of, hey, I can look at this as that I'm the victim here, and that's going to hurt really bad. And that's probably going to make my ego feel really terrible. Or I can come from a perspective of, what can I learn from this situation? How can I turn it into a lesson that if I learn it, I can, again, accept myself to a greater degree, bring some love in where it has been missing, help my self-esteem, and just overall become a better and happier human being. So they would say, instead of train yourself, Daniel, they would say, give yourself a choice, just exactly like you did. It's brilliant to give ourselves a choice. Well, if I respond in the old way, what's that going to get me? Versus if I respond from a place of where I'm breathing and I'm holding that vibration of love, which we can do just with our intention. That's all it takes. We're going to have different results, and we're certainly going to feel better.
Well, maybe that came from a historical point of view, because I can't remember where I responded negatively and something good came out of it. So, man, you get burned so many times, you start, well, maybe that's just not the right approach. And in the end, one has to ask oneself, what do I get? I mean, how's my life better if I look at somebody as inferior to myself, or if I cast disdain upon somebody because they don't believe or act the way I do, I mean, what do I gain? What is there to gain? The answer is nothing. How can I better their life? Well, you can't. So there must be a better way. All right. So let's go to another question here. It says, does everyone have a guardian angel?
Definitely. Everybody has more than one guardian angel. And guardian angels and archangels and canine angels, all the angels work together. Angels are benevolent forces in our lives to help us to bring in love where love has been missing, to raise our vibration. So yes, we definitely all have guardian angels that will help us, whether we ask for their help or not. But it definitely helps to ask for their help, because then we're becoming more conscious that we're ready to receive the help. That's where we human beings, we can get really, really stubborn. We don't like to ask for help, and we don't necessarily like change. So if we can understand that we have a whole committee, each one of us trying to help us all the time in heaven. We have loved ones, we have guides, we have angels, we have archangels, all working together to really try to help us to create from the inside out a different reality for our own self. And then that energy shifts for the whole planet so that the whole world can experience a better story. That's how they all work together.
So Belinda, would I be correct in saying that I'm interviewing 13 people right now? Yourself and 12 guardian angels, archangels?
Yeah. Yeah, and the 12 archangels, Daniel, their number is symbolic. So the number 12 is symbolic of going through cycles of evolution. So just like we have 12 hours on a clock face, 12 months of a year, 12 signs of the zodiac, all of those are cycles. And so that's why the group of angels that I communicate with call themselves the 12 archangels. And again, they really want to help us to evolve in our awakening, in our consciousness, so that we get to realize that, if we hold animosity for someone else, then it's only going to come back and harm us too, because we're all very interconnected, even though we don't like to think about that. We like to think those people on the other side of the earth, I have nothing to do with them and they're bad and I'm good. But actually, we are all mirrors of each other. So if we want to help the world, if we can just keep filling up with that unconditional love, it's incredibly powerful at making peace everywhere on the planet.
Belinda Womack, there are people that claim that walking on the ground in bare feet can get rid or change our negative energy in our body. Have you ever heard of that? Is that true?
Well, grounding ourselves is definitely helpful. So if we're grounded to Mother Earth, that can help us to feel more peaceful. However, we still need to take responsibility for what we're thinking, and what we're feeling.
Well, when I walk on the ground barefoot, when I cast aside an innate fear that I may step on a bee. And by the way, I'm a beekeeper, but I still don't want to step on one because I don't want to get stung in the foot. But once I clear that, there is a certain almost a release, a natural kind of feel, that maybe even a mood changer that actually happens. So, I don't know what kind of vibrations you got there, but I mean, there's, as I said earlier, there are definitely things that change our view, our outlook, our attitude, our spirituality. So basically what you're saying is you have ideas, and actually, maybe more than that, you're saying you have directions from the archangels on how to do that. But people are doing this in one form or another, whether they take it from your point of view or the one I suggested a little bit or others. But there is, if, for instance, this show, somebody would be watching this program and because we've been trained to look for the negative, they're waiting for something for you to say that will be diametrically opposed to their basic foundational principles. They can't hear the positive things or the things that make sense to them, or the science that are proven. As I said, music, everyone will say that music has, a violin can make you cry. Why is that? Is that a vibration? But it is a fact. And you may not say nothing, but just the sound of that violin played a certain way will evoke emotions. Well, how can that be if there's not something there that's going somewhere in your psychology, somewhere in your subconscious? It's touching something. There is something there.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you, by the way, about walking on the earth. One of the 12 archangels is Mother Earth herself. So, they say that they are our teachers here, helping that Earth is a school, and that we are here to experience how to recognize when we're in a place of fear and negativity, and to feel that and to make a different choice. And so to make that different choice, it would be to choose happiness, right? To choose to feel better. So yes, of course, there are individuals out there who individuals, that mirror back to us, that we all can have those places inside that say, hey, if you challenge this belief that I have, that I really believe is true, and if you challenge it, then that makes me feel insecure. That makes me feel unsafe. That makes me question, well, what about my other beliefs? Then I understand that can be disconcerting. But, that can also be a good thing to have our beliefs, shaken, so that when we have that ground shaken underneath our feet, to ask, well, so show me the power of love. Show me the truth of how love works, and show me that, I never leave the heart of God. I never leave that love. That love is within me, and I have access to it.
Do you think love can be demonstrated by being able to be a good listener to somebody else's story?
Yes, of course, love can be.
I knew the answer to that already. I'm just throwing that. I want to bring that into the conversation. Sometimes, and over the years, people have said that, man, Daniel, you're a good listener. I don't know if I could do that, what you do. Well, it's just because I want to listen, because I don't have all the answers, and I don't have all the experiences, and I cannot say that your experiences are wrong and mine are right. People have experiences, and for what reasons they vary. Is one of the missions of this show is why try to find out how somebody came about with their beliefs. What experience did they have? Why didn't I have one? Can I have one? And that goes back. I want to go back to your science degree, because some of the things you're saying doesn't sound scientific. So how do you square the things you learned in cut and dry provable science to the supernatural, I guess we could say?
Well, the best way that I can explain that is that very often the teaching of the 12 archangels, it makes good common sense. And then when I have watched their teaching prove itself over 25 years with all the individuals and couples and families that I've worked with and the classes I've taught, it's like, okay, this is this is proving itself that it's reliable, and because it's repeatable. That's what you want to see when you're a scientist, right? When you do an experiment, it's not just that you get the results once. They have to be repeatable, and that's what I've watched with these angels. And it's not complicated. It makes good common sense. We were created in the image of God, and we create just like our Creator. So let's take responsibility for that. And if we create again by understanding that our thoughts, our beliefs, our memories, and our feelings are creating our lives, and we want to have better lives, we want to have abundance, we want to have health, we want to have peace, we want to feel safe in our own skins. Well, and we really get to experience that repeatability by working with, they just make it simple, by the power of love. And then it's like, okay, that makes sense to me. That's grounded.
There's a scripture in a spiritual guidebook that says something on the order, though I have all knowledge and know all things and can do all things, without love, I'm but a tinkling cymbal and an uncertain sound. So, and as I said at the beginning of the show, some of our fast blast questions, people want to send in, 12 pages of study to prove a guest is wrong or right, or I'm wrong or right. And I'm thinking, as I'm reading through there, I'm not getting any love directed. I'm getting a lecture. I'm not perceiving love. It seems like love can be perceived no matter what the topic is or who you're talking to or how do you interact with people. Love can either be demonstrated that it exists and is there, or it can be demonstrated that it isn't. And I think more people, too many people, demonstrate the fact that love isn't there, though they may have the reference books and the CDs and they could write things and they've been studying for 50 years. But they're the perception that there's love behind their intent to quote teach another person their truth or the truth as they've gotten it, isn't coming through. So if the end result of what they say isn't if I'm not perceiving that there's love behind it, then to me it is in fact a tinkling cymbal, and I really just have to tune it out because I cannot internalize that. If you can't end up at the end where you end up and what you believe and say doesn't end up with love, then I'm not sure it's worth staying with or making a part of my life. But let's get to another question. It says, with all the negativity inside and out, and of course this world is full of negativity, how much of that actually, or percentage, can you guess how much of that is affecting our health?
I really don't understand the question. So,
okay, we're surrounded by negativity. The world
right.
by nature is negative. Negative news constantly pouring in. How do we know that it is affecting our health, that negativity?
How do we know? Well,
yeah, how do we know that? Say like we're hearing things. We're just going to, we're not thinking that we're hearing something negative. We just listen to it. We hear it, and then later say we're not feeling well. Can we relate that to the negativity that we're hearing or perceiving? Or is it just random?
So from my perception and from my own personal life, every vibration impacts us because we are all energy, right? If you break us up into atoms, we are energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. And the energy that we are is definitely, connected to everyone else. So the angels talk about oneness, and they say that, you're one human family. Again, you like to think that you're separate from your creator and you're separate from each other. But the truth is that you're very intimately connected with each other. And so the negative experiences, you all feel them. There's a divine law called the law of one, and it says when one is harmed, all are harmed. But when one is helped, all are helped. And so again, that's why the angels want to really focus on, so let's focus on the help. Let's focus on the love. And I just can speak for myself that if I watch the news that can make me, sick for days because I'm very, very, very sensitive. But if I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, wherever I see that negativity, that heartache, that sorrow, that fear, I'm going to shower all of that with the power of love and work with the colors of the energy centers or of God's rainbow, whatever language you want to use, and really try and do something about it. Like there's a color for peace, and from the angels they say that's the color peach. And so, I just love to shower the whole globe in that color. We really can make a difference. Of course, the more of us that are willing to do it, then we can experience faster results, and that's what we have the option to do. But yes, of course, we feel everything. We just can be in denial about it.
Not to get too political, and certainly not in this conversation, but I heard something in one of the conventions. It said somebody said that when the police or firemen come, they don't check who you are. They don't check whether you're gay, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Democrat or Republican. They just come. And it seems to me that a person who, say, walks in love, looking at, say, our guest list that we have on the program, because it goes across the spectrum, sometimes there is a litmus test. Well, that person, there isn't love. I had it in my mind. I don't know if I can demonstrate what I'm trying to say, but the love that is given to them is predicated on something. It's predicated on whether or not they agree with them or not. And I'm wondering if we can love someone without having to agree with them 100%. How can we do that?
Well, we absolutely can. Love is an energy. It's a vibration. Again, fear is that lower vibration. It's the lowest you can get. And the fear creates the illusion that we are separate. So it's in our best interest to just hold that enemy, if you will, in that energy of love, in that vibration of love, because that, and I don't know if your audience is open to past lives, but we've all done everything. We've all been bad guys. We've all been good guys because we're learning, and we're learning that, wow, it feels really good to be that inspiration, just like you are to your listeners. That's a good feeling. And that good feeling does give us better health. It does help us to receive abundance. It does help us to have love in our lives. So, again, it's in our best interest, according to the angels, to love thy enemy, because the biggest enemy is you can find right inside of your own self. That's usually who we have the biggest arguments with, is our own self. So to make peace within helps to create peace without.
Okay. Question came in. You mentioned the 12 archangels. Are you prepared to say their names, or?
They prefer to travel incognito. I've mentioned Gabriel. The famous ones, right, are Archangel Michael and Gabriel and Raphael. But the reason that they don't like to go through the whole list of 12 is for two reasons. One, the number 12 is a metaphor. Are there more than 12 archangels? Of course there are more. And the other reason is that their names are different in different traditions, and it depends on how far back you go. They're older than this earth. They're older than religion. These angels were created in the very, very beginning, when our Creator first began to create and to expand. So they don't like to make their names a point to argue with, because they say, what's the point? Let us work together as a community, teaching you how to make peace within yourself and to work with each other. So,
on a lighter note, in the movie Anger Management, they told the doctor told this guy who they said had too much anger. They told him to say "fruz baba." Have you ever heard that term?
No, I have not heard.
Well, they kept saying, "Oh, just say fruz baba." So if you keep chanting that, they were supposed to allay his anger there. It's a pretty funny movie. All right, and then let's rewind a little bit to something you said, which made the chat, at least the chat viewers, perk up when you said something about canine angels.
Have you ever had a dog?
Yep.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, you can look at a dog, you can be mad, and then look at a dog, and then your anger just goes away. Why is that?
Because they love unconditionally. They know how to love absolutely unconditionally, and they're incredibly forgiving, even if they've been abused. They know how to forgive, and that's they exist on our planet to help us to learn how to be more like them. Now, I'm sure that'll cause maybe a wave out there, but it's true. If we could love like our amazing dogs. Dog is God spelled backwards, by the way. They know how to love, and they're excellent, awesome, wonderful teachers. Not to leave the cats out, or the whales or the trees or anybody else. But
what about the cats now? We got some cat people in the audience here.
So, what the angels teach is that our planet is saturated in beings that love us. So whether that's the oak tree in the backyard, it's the dog that's looking at us saying, hey, let go of that anger, or it's the kitty cat that when we just pet that cat, all the stress goes away. There are reminders all around us all the time. It's human beings that we love to see things as black and white and good and evil and light and dark, where we can continue to do that. That's the way our brains were created, to have an ego and to have this part of us that we call our heart. But it is that wonderful unconditional love that comes to us through our pets that can say, hey,
Okay.
chill out, chill out. You just relax. You don't need to have all this stress. Just shift your mood and see what happens.
Well,
See
yeah,
how
I
life is
I think
better.
I agree with you. Anybody that's had a dog will tell you that there's something that dog knows about love that kind of puts us to, as humans, man. I mean, they don't walk around in the anger that sometimes humans do. Listen, Belinda Womack, we're at the top of the hour here. We take a 5-minute break. You'll still be on the line. We'll just turn you down. But before we get to our 5-minute break, anything you'd like to say about your book or your website? I got your book in our background right now.
It's a great book. Everybody, I hope that you'll check it out. You can use it every day, and you can learn all about me at my website. It's belindawomack.com.
Okay. All right. Just stay right there on the line here. We're going to turn you down. We'll be back with you in 5 minutes. Okay.
Great.
All right, everybody. You're listening to and or watching the Edge television broadcast on our Newsmaker Line tonight, of course. Belinda Womack talking about her book, I'll just read the title, Lessons from the 12 Archangels. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to be right back. And welcome back to the Edge television broadcast. My name is Daniel Ott. If you missed any of the exciting first hour of this program, it will begin to replay in the main player directly after the show. We'll upload the high-definition video to our YouTube channel and put it into our TuneIn radio playlist. Also, we podcast it as well. So many formats. You can watch the Edge television broadcast and listen and learn from some of our tonight's guests and previous guests as well. Speaking of tonight's guests, let's go back to our Newsmaker Line and welcome back Belinda Womack. Belinda, welcome back.
It's wonderful to be here, Daniel. What's your next question for me?
My next question, are you feeling positive or negative vibrations so far in the first hour?
Positive. It's been great. Lots of fun.
Okay. All right. Well, you haven't hung it up on us, so I think we're doing good there. Okay. So we left off talking about that animals can teach us things, and I would lament that we need those types of things to sort of redirect us in our various views and attitudes. But when a negative situation comes to us, this is a substantial crisis, how does one deal with that?
So the first thing to do is to breathe. The second thing to do is to ask for help, especially from our unseen helpers. So that would mean our angels and our loved ones in heaven, because they really can do a lot to help us, even though we may not realize that. And then and to be here now, to really just breathe and to be in our center, because that's what's going to connect us with our intuition. Our intuition just means to be able to connect with our higher self, that part of us that's always in heaven, so that we can bring through the wisdom that says, well, this is what I need to do to solve this problem or to resolve this crisis, or even this is the next step that I need to take to help myself or to help another person. So we need to be, come to center and to listen, and our intuition will tell us this is what you need to do. And then once the crisis has resolved, we want to transform any leftover negative fear or negative feelings connected with that. We can do that by just releasing them, giving them back to God, just saying, thank you for taking this and filling me with love. And then to just step back and to say, okay, well, why did I need that lesson? What was the purpose of that? So, for example, if there's a heartache such as a divorce or something like that, well, what did I need to learn? What was that really about? It wasn't just, it wasn't designed to destroy me. It was designed to teach me something so that I can actually now step into greater happiness.
Mm-hmm. Question from our moderator, Jade, who's moderating our live chat. Do angels believe in tough love?
They do. Mm-hmm.
And how would we see that?
Well, so tough love, according to angels, means to have healthy boundaries, and that means they together again with our higher self, just can help us to stand strong in our soul, so that we know what our yes is and we know what our no is. And we human beings, we do not generally like to see another person that we care about suffer. But at the same time, if we continue to step in and rescue that person, then what we may not be realizing is how are they going to learn? How are they going to learn that, if they keep handling the hot pan, that they're going to get burnt if we keep rescuing them so that they don't learn what heat feels like. And that's really not the best example. I think to be perfectly honest, a better example is when we have an addict in our family that we love dearly. And if we continue to step in and enable that person and rescue that person, even though we just don't want to see them hurting, how are they going to learn that their behavior and their choices have consequences? And that's where angels talk about tough love. It's really, tough love is just it's another word for having healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm. We've got a question came in on our Fast Blast here. It says, when angels go to battle, what type of weapons do they use?
They only work with love. They only work with love. So Archangel Michael's sword is a sword of truth. It's made out of energy. It comes in the color sapphire blue, which is the energy of our will chakra, or our will energy center that's located in our throat. Mm-hmm. And so that sapphire blue energy of truth and justice and awareness, what it helps us human beings to do is to be more aware of what choices we're making, and to stand in that truth, and to be courageous. So that's an example of Archangel Michael. But that's what, the weapons are made of love.
All right. Well, I consider myself a neutral partisan. Just a quick note, so I'm not just bashing a certain group, but Hillary Clinton seems to be, there's a video out there of her just coughing over and over and over for extended periods of time when she's talking. I'm wondering if there's something negative down in that old throat of hers. All right, let's get to this question here from the Fast Blast for you, Belinda. It says, how do you deal with predators in the world that maybe one would have to deal with? I mean, you can't love somebody if they're trying to kill you, can you? How do you deal with that?
Well, what a lot of people don't understand, Daniel, is that, and that's why the angels keep repeating this, love is the greatest power, not fear. Love is a power. And we human beings, we take the power out of love. We think that love is just a hug or a kiss or a smile, but truly it's a power, and it is an energy that when we fill our vessels with it and we stand in that energy, then we are invincible and we can't be harmed. Mm-hmm. And that's a big teaching of what the angels talk to us about, as they say, work with this power. So then this whole idea of predators is that there's something outside of us that can harm us. We have our own internal predators, and if we'll find those within us through our intention and just say, okay, where's the negative attackers inside of me? Mm-hmm. Where are those old selves inside of me, those old voices that just want to rip me to shreds and cut my head off with critical thoughts? Mm-hmm. And we put those selves in the color purple, for example, or we can put them in the color of unconditional love is emerald green, or just pure white gold love light. That covers the whole gamut. Then we're going to feel different. And then what we're going to find, and this we can prove to ourselves, is that we are then safer as we walk out into the world. And those attackers, whether it's negative energy, entities, or human beings, they can't touch us.
And a non-spiritual I guess what we say, New Age person once said that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of what you think about it. So how is that any different from some of the things that you're saying?
Well, I don't think it really is any different, and 90% of us is what makes up our subconscious, and 10% is our conscious mind. Albert Einstein said that we human beings, he was one of us, said we only use maybe 10% of our brain's capacity. Mm-hmm. And that capacity, when we open up to use the power of our brain to reach down into that subconscious that is creating these negative feelings and negative responses, that's really what I intended to say. And we use that brain in a new way, we can really transform that 90% of us that gets stuck. It gets really, really stuck. And then we're living in our past. If you want to know, well, what again is the subconscious? It's our past. But we human beings, we carry it with us everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. And so when we change that past, then we stop living in it. We actually start to live in the here and now. Mm-hmm. And living in the here and now gives us a whole lot of power to create a future that's going to work a whole lot better for us. But yeah.
Well, there are whole groups of people that are trying to live in the past. Say, well, in the past, one group of people say did something to another group of people, and they're trying to even get hurt where hurt was not even there, or for them to get. Class warfare, I guess, was one, or racial warfare. That's another. People are saying, so and so back in the day, and they try to make a career out of that. I think everyone needs to move on. That's just that strata or spectrum of things that happen. But all of us sort of have that, and it sounds like we'll be better off to get there. And now, for those that are listening, if the larger thing that what I'm trying to do here is, I can hear past you saying that there are vibrations and that you're saying there are colors. Of course, I'm analyzing those. I'm thinking about them. But there is something larger within the context, the construct of what you're saying. There's something larger. And if people don't hear it, then they're missing what you're saying. So hopefully they'll hear it with a different set of ears. And that would be one way to implement some of the things you're saying, some positive change right here tonight, because there are people that will respond to you and some things you've said the way they've always responded. And I wonder how far that has gotten them. Or me, how far has that gotten me when I do an auto response to something? I think it's good for us to constantly be checking, why are we responding this way? What is my purpose? Who's going to benefit from the way I believe? And is love the ultimate goal? And if we put those questions in there, then we can hear a whole lot more from each other. What do you say, Belinda?
Well, I agree. And when we react in the same old way, because we human beings, we as a rule, we don't like change, and but it's good to ask, well, what results am I getting by reacting in the same old way? What are the results in my life of this? And something you said earlier about, and I'm going to use different words, but it's a choice to see ourselves as victims of someone else, or that again there are. I'm not saying that people aren't actually truly victimized, but if we want to change this, and that's the work that the 12 Archangels are really about, and that's the work that I do, and I can tell that that's the work that you're involved in, is let's change what we continue to experience as the human race, where we feel stuck in what the angels called victim consciousness. Of course, they're not the only ones that use that term, but we can actually get almost addicted to seeing ourselves as victims, especially if that's the way we get attention, if that's the way we feel powerful, is, hey, I've been victimized, so I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to hold on to my anger and that kind of consciousness. Well, what kind of results do we get from that? And are we at least a little bit willing? Let's just test this power of love. Let's hold that intention. Let's practice a bit of gratitude. The angels talk about in one of their messages in lessons from the 12 archangels, to practice gratitude for what you don't like as well as for what you do like that's happening to you. And then we really experience a shift, because that helps us to learn. Gratitude really shifts our vibration of our mind so that we can see, oh, wow, yes, I have been a victim, but I have been a victim in the exact same way my whole life. Look at this story. It just keeps repeating. And well, if I look at it different and I call my power back and I make different choices, and maybe I do some healing, maybe I do a little psychology work to help myself. Wow, look at how my life changes and improves. But that's a choice. And we've got to make the choice. We don't have to make any choice, but we got to make the choice. Do we want to have greater freedom? Do we want to have greater abundance? Do we want to have greater health? Do we want to have peace on earth? These are all choices for us.
All right, we have this question from Phil in North Carolina. It says, scientists did research about Christians and a blue aura that surrounds only them. Have you ever heard about this? What is your comment?
I have not heard about that research, that there is a blue aura that only exists around people who practice Christianity. Because so I'm not aware of that. But there's just different ways also to have Christian beliefs that may not, even there are Christians that would say that other people that call themselves Christians are not actually true Christians. So that gets a little bit fuzzy. I would have to know, as a scientist in my past, well, how did they even define the group of that were called Christians? What were the parameters, and what was the control group of that? But that's,
But there has been scientific evidence that there is a aura that surrounds, I think, all living things.
Exactly. We all have an energy field around us. That's very true.
And I wonder what that consists of. Plasma? Love?
It consists of it shows the colors of the energy field. The aura is energy, but it consists of the vibrations of the mental body has its aura or its energy field. The emotional body has a different aura. The physical body has an aura. The spiritual body has an aura. So if you read auras or energy fields, you want to be able to know, to be able to discern, well, which, for a human being or even for an animal, which one are you looking at, and how are they in sync with each other?
Can you see different colors on people or anything?
I can. Especially if that's what's revealed to me. Daniel, I'm what the angels call a spiritual messenger. That means I am asked to show up and to be as clear as a conduit as I can possibly be. So if I'm working with someone and their guides, their higher self, their helpers want me to see their energy field, then I see it. If that's going to be a distraction for what they want me to do, then it's not necessarily shown to me all the time.
But I think us regular folks out here could also say that we've all have perceived a darkness on somebody they know. Maybe they've been to somewhere. I mean, I've seen that.
Absolutely. Sure, we can see that.
So again, so you're not really out there that some would say you would be, but because I think, including divine intervention, you're talking about angels, and I can tell you a story that my father told me once, and the long-time viewers and listeners would already hear this, but my brother was pulling a wheelie on a motorcycle, and he hit a post, punctured his liver, and he was in a hospital, and he's on the deathbed, more or less, and my dad went to a restroom, and he said that somebody put their hand on him and said, he's not going to die. And he turned around and there was no one there, and he lived. So, and I think there's some people that are watching the show that can attest to the fact that they've had angelic intervention in their life. And whether we have it in such a dramatic scale, do we have divine intervention on smaller scales that we could know if we trained ourselves, and what would that look like?
Well, we definitely can, and thank you for sharing that story with me because I hadn't heard it before, but I was covered with goosebumps when you shared it. So yeah, it was definitely clearly a loving angel that came to give your father that message. So one of the of a simple way that we can begin to work with angels to experience divine interventions is to ask for we can do something. We can say, I need to wake up in the morning without an alarm clock. Guardian angels, will you please wake me up? I mean, I haven't had to use an alarm clock for 25 years. One friend of mine here in Maine, she works at the hospital. She likes to, if she's running late to get into the emergency room, she'll say, okay, angels, please, if it's for the greatest good of all concerned, I need a parking space. And she shared this story with me. And one time there were three right there, and there's not usually parking spaces there. So we can definitely ask for help on these mundane levels. I remember, times that my husband had a flat tire and the AAA guy came to help put a tire on, and he didn't have any cash on him, but something told him to reach into his shirt pocket, and he found a $5 bill that he hadn't put there, and he opened his wallet and there was another $5 that he knew he didn't put there. So, these kinds of things they are happening. It's when we connect our awareness. It's again using that brain in a new way to say, well, show me. I'd like to see. I'd like to be more aware of these divine interventions, the help that really is out there for me, so that I can trust it. It's all about results with us human beings. We like to have those results. We want to have that proof. We can have it. It helps for us to be willing to ask and receive. Ask for that. Ask for help. Ask to be shown. Angels, are you real? Watch out. Watch out when you ask that, when you put that out there.
Well, since I'm going to since I want to share with you, I'm going to share with you another one.
Great.
Years ago, in my strapping youth, of course, I'm only 29 now, but anyway, I mean, everybody. I know women claim that, but I claim that too. Anyway, so I'm speeding down the highway at a ridiculous amount of speed with my brother in a car in a snowstorm. And the car starts to slide, and it's going off the cliff, man. I mean, it is going over there. And that car, it felt, and it's difficult to describe, but you know it when you feel it. It felt as if a hand was put on that car and straightened it out. And it's a feeling that a car can't make, because I'm a car guy. I know how they do. I've worked with engines a long, long time, been around cars my whole life. And it felt like something grabbed that car and straightened it up on the highway. And then I'll give you one more. I was speeding down the alley in a motorcycle in my invincible youth, and I hit gravel, and I fell off the bike. I was falling off the bike, and during that time of falling down sideways, I sort of saw my life flash, and then as my hand fell off the accelerator, the bike stood right back up, and I was thinking, wow. And in both cases, I should have been killed, and I wasn't. And so, when you have those things happen to you, hearing a nice lady such as yourself relay that angels are there and they can protect you and influence things that happen in your life, I can attest there's something going on out there. So that's why I want to hear your story. I can't say I agree with everything you're saying, but again, it goes to the general thesis. There are definitely things that we can all learn here.
Well, thank you for sharing those divine interventions with me. You have some very good angels that you kept very busy in your youth.
Well, I get crazier as I go on, man. Somebody in the live chat just said they had a similar thing happen to them. They were speeding. It says a hand pushed from. See what I say? A hand pushed from in front of a speeding car when I was crossing the road. So, I think so. See, if people start to think about their lives, I think what you're saying may not sound so crazy. You think, wait a minute now. I remember, because most of us forget, those things. I don't know how I had the ability for this recall, but I think there's angelic work all over the place.
All over the place, and I think that one of the reasons why you experience what you experienced and why you remember it is so that you can share it with your audience and help open minds with that. Because again, that is happened in your reality. That was a tangible experience for you, and I've had my own, maybe not as dramatic as that because I wasn't a speed racer in my youth. But again, these interventions, they do happen. And some people ask Daniel, well, so where was my intervention? I went ahead and I had the accident, or, I didn't feel like I was helped. And, we have things, we have experiences because we have experiences, and we are all asked to learn different lessons from those experiences. Clearly, you needed to not be harmed so that you could experience what it's like not to be harmed. If someone actually had an accident, it's because they needed to go through that experience to get to know compassion. Maybe they needed to experience being taken care of, being put back together, and finding a new sense of strength and awareness about themselves to go through that journey. So I just want to make it clear, angels are everywhere. They will not intercede in a lesson that we are learning. It's a schoolroom here. They support us in learning as quickly as we can what we need to learn so that our lives improve.
All right, we have this question, and I know that you probably have heard this question asked in so many different ways, and it is from one of our live chat viewers. Says, are angels not allowed to interfere in the lives of, say, children when they're being mistreated, molested, or any other kind of thing?
Angels are not allowed to interfere if there is a lesson being learned. So you might ask, well, so where is that? How could that possibly be a lesson? And that's where it does help to have an awareness that we live more than one life. So we carry over homework, it's called karma, from past lives into this life if we haven't learned the power of love, how to choose love, how to work with it. So, for example, if a child is harmed, hypothetically, it could be that soul needs to learn absolute unconditional love and forgiveness, even by going through that horrendous experience. And so, the angels definitely help as much as they possibly are allowed to help. And even in the case if a child goes through abuse in childhood, in order to maybe, again, have an experience that is going to be important later in life. For example, maybe that soul said, I'm going to go through abuse as a child so that when I become an adult, I'm going to be a psychotherapist so I can help others with abuse. Then that's when those angels can come in and really can help with the healing at that later time in life and that restoration. So they step in as soon as they are allowed to do that.
And the question being posed to you, I've heard that question in a variety of shows and guests for not angelic but other spheres of conversation. But that question really seems like it's directed more towards God than you. Because I think that is the question that people have. It's that way. Maybe, what is your explanation? And certainly you have a hypothesis on it. And people who say that's making sense, that's hateful, whatnot. But I think the question really is directed at God, to say, God, why do you allow? And that question really hasn't been answered in most people's minds as how God can allow the things that happen on this earth. And certainly I don't know that you have you're not saying, in fact, that you have, this is why it is. You're saying, and you said hypothetically or on hypothesis, your general understanding at this time in your life. But that's a question from the beginning of time when man first walked on the earth is why is there evil on the earth?
Well, there is evil on the earth for us to learn how to bring in love where love has been missing. So again, it really does help. And this is just, this is what I've been asked to do. This is my work. Working with these 12 archangels is to have the understanding or the awareness that this is a school. We are in school to learn the difference between fear, which is just synonymous with evil, to learn the difference between fear and love, and how to work with love as a healing power to bring it where it has been missing, to transform the fear, to transform the evil, so that we experience those miracles of healing that we long for.
Well, and to put that in perspective too, as far as I think the other part of that question I can detect behind the question is, how has this happened to a child who doesn't deserve it? But there are things that I've seen over time, and everybody's seen probably a movie or heard a story. I know I've heard there was a movie made. I think it was called The Railroad Man, and in that a guy was tortured for years, and maybe the Hanoi Hilton, and at the end of the movie, he goes back to his tormentor, to his torturer. And when you look at it, you can't help but cry and think the love of that, of him forgiving his torturer. It worked so much into the torture. I mean, you think, wow, what a scale of love. And most people there, if that happened, going back to say child molestation, there can be a lifelong of hurt. But on the other hand, there's also been those that have went back to their torturers and showed a love that changed the life of the torturer. And, most of I would say most of us couldn't do that. But when we hear those stories, we say, wow, what love that is demonstrated there. And can I just love a little bit more now after hearing that or seeing that? And you say, well, that's coming off of a horrible circumstance. You think, I wish it never happened, but it did. And then you have the choice to be eternally hurt. And I'm not justifying anybody's inflicting pain on somebody else, but I'm saying there's too many of those stories to say that real unconditional love walked out in life may require or could require those events in your life. I'm just pointing that out. People think about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's that one in the spiritual guidebook says, no greater love has any man than to lay down his life for another. And sometimes we don't want to lay our life down in that we don't want to forgive. You're not laying your life down because you're saying, I'm going to not hold that against this person. I'm going to forgive them. And that's a measure of love that we all kind of need to get to. But it is not easy, Belinda.
It's not easy. However, we can work with forgiveness as a healing energy. And so we can, the forgiveness is also part of that crown chakra energy or spiritual battery that God has given us. We have a whole set of spiritual energy centers. And just by focusing on that color purple or that violet and holding the intention, to ask for help. Help me to forgive even though I don't know how to forgive. One of the things that the angels teach is you can't give something that you don't have or that you don't believe that you have. So if you ask for your creator, I call our creator Mother, Father, God. If we ask Mother, Father, God to fill us with forgiveness, then it is much easier to find forgiveness for ourselves. And once we can forgive self, that's when it's easier to forgive the one that has caused us hurt and harm.
Mm-hmm. What color do you see on me?
Blue.
It's because you're watching the show?
No, you have you have blue, but you have a lot of violet in your energy field and quite a lot of white gold. So, you're underneath that cowboy hat or above that cowboy hat, you're quite an evolved and an awakened soul with great compassion. So around your heart there is a lot of emerald green and pink. And so that just says that you walk your talk, and your listeners need to know that.
Wow. Interesting. You said blue because on right behind me is blue, and
I
you're
know that just means truth.
okay.
That's really what you are into. You try to keep your mind open. That's also the blue color in your energy field. You really try to keep an open mind, but that sapphire blue is that Archangel Michael blue, and that is that you're seeking the truth, and when you find it in your being, that's what you hold on to.
We have this comment from Phil in North Carolina to you, Belinda. It's a quick story. I'll read it real quick. It says, Belinda, I had an angelic intervention when I was 19 years of age. I was driving home late one night. I'd fallen asleep at the wheel. My car jumped the divider, spun completely around, and landed on the median in the opposite direction. Another driver coming from the opposite direction told me after he stopped he had seen someone or something turn my car around and place it down. He said, I knew it was an angel, and I was not of the Christian faith at that time. So isn't that interesting that somebody else saw that? And there are pictures out there where what appears to capture angelic intervention in different scenarios, particularly at car crashes.
Well, if in a car crash is a very significant thing, by the way. So the way it goes is that again, whatever we want to call God, God will send an intervention, a wake-up call, many times before we create a car crash. Mm-hmm. A car crash or driving our car is symbolic for how we're going through life, how we're moving through life. And if we need to go through life in a new direction, we need to reverse how we're going through life. Perhaps we've been seeing ourselves as an angry victim, and life is never going to go the way we want it to go, and we keep getting that message, hey, change your perception, change the way you think, and we just refuse to do that until it comes into a dramatic near car accident or a car accident. Then it's a message to us, turn your life around, change how you're moving through life. So yes, I totally understand that angels are very busy, because it's not that we are supposed to be injured or die in that car crash. Sometimes that's what is our soul's destiny. That's what God has chosen for us. But lots of times it is a wake-up call to let's move through life in a new way.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had several wake up calls. I think everyone has. They just haven't thought about it enough. And we're trying to invoke their.
But you do it in a very dramatic way, Daniel.
Okay.
I got to tell you, anyway.
Okay. Hey, by the way, somebody posted in our live chat. It looks like from the spiritual guidebook, Psalms 91:11. For he will give his angels charge over you and keep you in all your ways. And right there, it says that there's definitely some angels in charge. But let me ask you something, Belinda, and this is something that all of us at some point are going to have to face or already have faced. You're at a hospital for whatever condition or whatever ailment that you have that you don't know what it is. You're getting an exam, and the doctor or nurse is coming to you with the results of the test. And at that point, I would say categorically, most all of us would have the fear of dread beyond understanding at that point, and that can go any which way. Is it possible to change the results on that iPad they bring out with the results of the test from what they're going to say, and it could be a very, very negative, to something that's positive? Or is it already written?
Well, we can. That's a complex question. Yes, of course, we can change the results. However, we want to understand that it's not my will, it's thy will, meaning it's the will of soul or the will of the higher self that says, well, do you need to learn something? What's the best way are you going to learn? Are you going to learn through illness, to what you want to do to change your life, to let more love in? Or will you learn best by filling yourself and with love and saying, I surrender? Those words, I surrender my will to thy will, meaning the divine will, that's a very powerful phrase. If we're going to learn more, through going through that experience, then yes, we can change those test results. Of course we can. But it's not about ego,
Okay.
Yeah.
When you deal with the archangels, are they always there at your beck and call? Are you always surrounded by them, or can you call them individually and ask for a consultation?
So, my deal with the 12 archangels is we work together as a team, and I feel them all the time. So I just feel them all the time. They're always with me, but I want to say something. They're with all of us. It's just that in my work that I do, I have that connection open. It's like having a special phone line, or they're always on Skype with me, however you want to look at it, because we stay connected, so that, because I'm always working on myself to be as clear of a channel as I can be, and I need to be clear so I can help others. Mm-hmm. But what's important is these angels, they help all of us and all angels, and I'm talking about benevolent, all-loving forces. That's what I'm talking about when I say angels. So they are available to help all of us. So I want to make it clear, it's not like, hey, Belinda is the only messenger for the archangels. That's absolutely not true. We can all communicate with the archangels. Mm-hmm. We can all communicate with angels. Arch does not mean that they're above us. Arch is according to the angels, it's symbolic for they build bridges. They help us to build a bridge between heaven and earth, between heart and ego. That's what they're about. So the archangels work together with the angels. They work together with our higher selves. They work together with us, again, to help us bring love where love has been missing, to feel it, to see the results in our everyday life. And those results, because we have that logical, rational brain, when we human beings, when we experience positive, repeatable results, that's what actually helps us to build faith and trust in the divine.
Somebody asked the question, do you believe in demons? Do demons exist?
I have experienced probably some really pretty nasty vibrations of fear on this planet. So I don't like to use the word demons because I just don't like to give it power. But I call it, my word that the angels gave me is shabungi. So I have been places on this planet where I have walked through some really pretty intense, dark energy. And where I find it, I so love. I work with the powers of love until these vibrations are transformed. Whether, I don't ask where they come from. I just know that the mission is to return them to love. So whether that's ghosts, disembodied this or that, or, if it doesn't feel like love and I walk into it, I'm going to do something about it.
Your book, talking about the 12 archangels, reminded me of in the spiritual guidebook, Matthew 26:53 says, thinkest thou not, I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels. Right there, I think he was expressing that he could call angels to his aid. Interesting, the word 12 in there, but right there, it says, he said that, he has the ability to call angels to help. So do we have that same ability?
Yes. Yes, of course.
And would they always be archangels, or would they be angels, or is it a mixture?
It's a mixture, Daniel. They work together, and the way that the angels describe it is it's like, think of if you wanted to give a concert, so to a group of 3 people, then you don't need the volume of your instruments to be very loud. You could play softly. Or if it was a recording, you could play that softly and have the volume turned down. But if you wanted that music to reach a stadium full of people, then you would really turn up that volume. And that's what angels do. They work just like music. So when we call on them, and if we need to help the whole of humanity, then they grow in number, and they call all of their kingdoms or legions. They call just from all over the universe. The angels come to the aid of who has called them. Now, they serve our Creator, so they're not gonna. Angels are we don't pray to them. That's not what this is about. They are here to support us in owning our power of choosing love, so that we are all working together, meaning we're working together with all of God's creation to, for the betterment of God. So I hope I made sense with that.
Okay. A listener out of the live chat asked, do you believe in spiritual warfare prayers?
Do I believe in spiritual warfare prayers?
Mm-hmm.
Likely, I would probably use a different language. I believe in focusing intention and focusing, whether you want to call it, some people call it the light. I call it focusing the energy of love, or focusing divine love with my intention, and working with the committee of whoever is on task to help with that, to raise the vibration wherever it is. So I think I just would use different language there, but probably it's likely the same thing.
All right. In the first hour, and I think you may have mentioned it subsequently, but you said that they want us to prove. They want us to ask them to prove that they exist. I know that I've heard stories over time where people have asked God. They were like literally mad at God and said, "God, if you're real, then show yourself." And there are testimonies throughout history where that question has been answered directly right then.
Yes.
So
I agree.
So
yeah.
Well, there you go. Is it possible then that we're at a situation and we would ask an angel to manifest or to change an outcome? Is that what we need to do, or we need to?
Well, we just have to remember that ego can't see the big picture, and what I mean by ego is the part of our human brain that believes in separation. It believes that my actions don't impact your actions, my beliefs don't impact your beliefs, or your life. What I believe doesn't impact you, but the bigger part of our brain's consciousness understands that we are all very connected, and that yes, my actions impact everyone on the planet, and the same for everybody else. So we want to be careful to know, well, what part of me is demanding to see and to control what. Our Creator is very wise. And if it's coming from ego, ego likely isn't going to get that instant gratification and control that it's demanding. Will angels show us that they are there to help us? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It may not be in the way that our ego is demanding it to be.
Could we supplant the word pride for ego? Or are they totally different?
Pride is a quality of ego, so it's a part of ego. Mm-hmm.
So is humility the opposite of ego?
Humility, yes, sure. Humility is about that understanding of oneness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, what would you describe oneness?
Oneness is the interconnection. If you can see our Creator as energy, the energy of love, that we all come from that energy energy cannot be created or destroyed because it is part of the Creator. It's part of God. So that is oneness. Oneness is that divine, and that's where we all come from. But here on this planet, our vibration gets to go as low as it wants to go, and be caught in the illusion that we are separate. We can actually believe that we are so horrible, that that God has completely and totally abandoned us because we're so unworthy. But once we return to that vibration of love, in whatever way, how we're going to do that, then we experience again, yes, we are part
maybe that's
of our
why,
Creator.
Belinda, maybe that's why politics are so divisive, because the system makes a career out of dividing us into groups, and so we never really get anywhere. And it's this fighting is going on forever. And when we, whether somebody would say it's New Age or not, becoming one, or one human family or one human race, then how great would that be? It seems like we ought to be heading that way, but the power structures don't want that to happen. So will we say that the power structures then are just full of negativity?
Well, there's a lot of negativity and, quest for false power and control and ego, self-importance, and all kinds of things. And I think it's important to understand that even in this concept of oneness, which can be really hard for the human ego to understand, we still can be our amazing individual selves. It's just about stepping out of that belief that if people are different from us in some way or other, they believe different from us, then we need to hate them. That just really doesn't help us advance very much. And definitely politics can, partake in that. That's again all that ego quest for power and money and control and all of those things. But we can make a difference, even if we individuals and the collective can make a difference by focusing on the healing power of love and holding that intention that what we want to see for our planet is truly truth and justice and respect for all.
Okay. Well, Belinda Womack, we are at the end of the broadcast here. Any final words and Archangel Wisdom you have for us as we go?
So the 12 Archangels, their parting message is thank you. Thank you, humanity, for testing love. For when you test this power, you will see that it truly is the greatest power, and it is the greatest healing power. Feel your feelings, because to feel your feelings helps your bodies to heal and your minds to be clear. Surrender that ego and experience the wonder that happens when you do that, when you allow your heart to guide you forward. Blessings be as you all get to experience God's power of love in action, moving humanity forward. Enjoy.
Okay. All right. Belinda Womack, we appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. This show will begin to replay here shortly after the show. Can we have you on again sometime?
Sure, Daniel. It was great.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
I imagine when you look at the website and the list of guests, you probably weren't sure what to expect.
Well, the reason that I decided to be on your show is because I saw your photo and I could see your eyes, and I knew that you would treat me with respect, and so I was grateful to be a guest. So thank you so much.
Okay, all right, Belinda Womack, I appreciate you being on our program tonight.
Okay, well, you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, that was Belinda Womack talking about the 12 Archangels. Well, next week we're going to be going to another spiritual realm, so to speak. So be sure to come back next week. Tell everybody in your contact list to log on to the Edge's website. As I said, this program will begin to replay in the main player, the show in its entirety, and then we'll put the high definition video extract in there, upload it to our YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, And there you go. That will be a wrap for the program. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions and those that sent those in. We appreciate that so much. Daniel Ott for The Edge. Bye-bye.